Hi everybody, this is Suzanne Hiron from Mimi Papyrus. This week is all about inspiration. I told you where to find some ideas, and I did. I cased a card in the catalog. Let's get started. In my last Tip Tuesday, you learned about where to find inspiration for cards. So I talked about the catalog, and I'm going to give you an example of a card that was inspired by the catalog. So this is the Step It Up card. You see it on page 71 of the annual catalog, and I'll show you what I used for it. So I used the Forever Fern stamp set, and I needed a smaller greeting, so I used the Very Versailles stamp set. I used the Bark embossing folder, Forever Flourishing dies, but again, since it's a simple stamping card, if you don't have all these, you can still make a very beautiful card. So let's get started. So, as the example, I used a crumb cake cardstock, cut at 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And don't worry, all the measurements will be on my blog. So that's our base for the card. I ran the layer. Usually I do my layers about a 1/4 inch increments, but this one I did a half inch increment so that we could see the detail of the embossing on the background. So this is the bark embossing. So I'm just going to adhere this to my base. I did a few little things differently, and that's the whole point of getting inspiration. You don't have to do it exactly the same. So instead of adhering these leaves all over the layer, I just did one. And I'm going to use our Tombow glue to adhere it. I was so glad when they brought back this Forever Fern stamp set. It is just beautiful. It's a distinctive stamp set, so that means that there is layers of color without even changing your color. I'll show you when I do my little squares. So this one is done. Give it a nice press. Now these are the 4 little squares that we saw on the bottom, and I stamped them ahead of time. I used these colors, so Terracotta Tile, Bumblebee, which is an in color, Pear Pizzazz, and Crumb Cake. So we'll position them before we stick them. And I don't know if you can see the detail of this stamp. You see all the shades of color that I didn't have to change the ink. It was all the stamp that did it. That's the distinctive stamp. So just measure it up so we know how much space to leave. Yeah, that kind of does it. So put a dimensional on the back. How easy is that? Line up your little squares. These squares are 1 1/4 inches. I guess you can make them pretty much the size that you want, provided it fits. I thought this was a good size because it leaves some of the embossing folder texture behind that you can see. So there's the result. And the last little bit that I added to my card, if you notice, is this addition of the linen thread. So I just rolled it a couple of times around my card. You can do a knot or a bow. Get my snips. So this can be just a thinking of you card, a birthday card, a get well card, all occasions. The set is perfect for everything. I think I'm just going to move it up a bit. There. Gonna do a knot first. There. Just little bow, tiny little bow. There you go. And the crumb cake is light enough for you to write on the inside, but if you don't want to write on the inside, you want to stamp, you can use another layer and just stamp your greeting, another little leaf, and you're done. Hope you enjoyed this simple card and that you'll find more inspiration in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. See you next time.